The second half of today's lesson deals with just graphing equations in the slope-intercept form. So let's take a look at our first problem here. It asks us to graph, and it's already in the slope-intercept form. So let's just write down real quick what that slope-intercept form is. It goes this way. Y equals, so notice all of these equations except this last one has y by itself. And then what we have is the slope. The slope is what changes the x values each time to come up with the outputs, the y values. And then we add on a b term, and the b term is where it starts, where it crosses the y-axis. And so this number again is our y-intercept. That's where we're going to plot a point to start our graph. It starts on that y-intercept. And then we have m. M stands for the slope. And again, the slope is the steepness of the line. It changes in the y direction and the x direction. And it's always y on top because we're concerned more about how much we have to go up rather than over when we're dealing with steepness. If you're ever climbing a hill, you are concerned with how steep it is. How much do you have to ascend or descend? And so that's why it's always rise over run. So let's take a look at this one here. We've got positive 4. This is the y-intercept. This is where we're going to start this line. And so we're just going to go 4 spaces up on the y-axis, up because that's the positive direction, and then we're going to follow the slope. Well, the slope is the number out in front of x again. This is what changes the x value, changes the inputs to come up with outputs. The top number tells us what to do in the y direction. Since it's a negative, it's telling us to go down. So I'm going to end up going down 2 spaces, 1, 2. And then the 3 tells me to go in the x direction. That's our runs, and that's the horizontal direction. And so this tells me to go right because it's a positive 3. So I'm going to end up going down 2, and then right 1, 2, 3, and I'm putting a dot there. I can do it again. I can go down 2, and then right 1, 2, 3, put a dot there. I could also go the other way. So negative 2 over 3 is the slope that we had. Well, that's the same thing as saying 2 over negative 3. But if it's this way, now I have to go up. I go up 2 spaces, and then the negative 3 tells me to go left. So I go left 3. So up 2, left 1, 2, 3. And I put the dot there. And now I can go ahead and draw that line between those points. And that's what we have. Well, let's take a look at our next problem here. Here we have a negative 2 is the y-intercept. So this is where I'm going to end up starting this line on that y-axis down 2 spaces. Now I use the slope. Well, what's the slope? Don't see a number out in front. Well, you can always write the number as 1. Well, 1 can be written as a fraction as 1 over 1. So this tells me to go up 1 space. And since it's a positive, we're going to go to the right 1 space. So up and to the right. So both the y and the x value are increasing. So we call this an increasing line when we're going from left to right. We could also go the other way. Again, 1 over 1 is the same as negative 1 over negative 1. This would tell me to go down and then to the left. That's the direction I'd go. So down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1. That gets me on that same line. And so I could go ahead and draw a line between those points. And that would be it. Well, looking at this one, again, negative 3, this is our y-intercept. So that's where I'm going to end up starting this graph down 3 spaces. Put the dot there. Use the slope. How do I write 2 as a fraction? Well, that's going to be 2 over 1. So 2 over 1 is the same as negative 2 over negative 1. So either way will get me that answer. So 2 over 1 tells me to go up 2 and then to the right 1 space. Up 2, right 1. So I do that a few times. I could also go the other way, down 2, left 1. Puts me on that same exact line. And draw a line between those points. And you've got it. Well, looking at our next one, the directions ask us to use slope-intercept and put the line in slope-intercept form. Well, this one we could use xy intercepts. However, the x-intercept is going to be a mixed number. So sometimes it's nice to always solve for the slope. Sometimes we need to know what the slope is. So even though we could get the slope from the 2 intercepts, this one would be easier to find the slope if we just would solve for y. And that's what I'm going to do. So my first step is to subtract 5x from both sides. So once I've done that, I now have a negative 3y equals, and I'm going to write the x term first. So I do that because I want to put it in the slope-intercept form. Notice the slope-intercept form has x first. Now I'm going to divide by this -3. And you got to divide every number by -3 in the equation. And so when you do this, you're left with y by itself, so y equals, and then the negative signs cancel, so we have 5/3 x, and then we have -3 into 6 goes -2 times. So there's our answer. And so now we have to graph it. So what we're going to do is start by graphing this point right here, -2. This is our y-intercept. So I go down 2 spaces, put the dot there, and then I use the slope. So the slope is 5/3. So the slope tells me to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I go over 3, 1, 2, 3. And I put the dot there. And so 5/3 is the slope, but I could also treat that as -5 over -3. So I could go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be off this graph. 1, 2, 3. Point would be somewhere right around there. And then from that point, I got a few points to be able to draw a nice line through. So that's what our line looks like. So those are similar problems to what you'll see on tonight's homework. Good luck.